As part of my oil change series, I'm going to show you how to clean the throttle body on my 2013 Mustang GT Premium with 5-liter engine. This is the same throttle body as in all 2011 to 2014 5-liter Mustangs and 2011 through 2014 Ford F-150 trucks. This 5-liter throttle body is not the same as the 3.7-liter throttle body. They're different part numbers. They look very similar and would be cleaned the same. The 2005 through 2010 4.6-liter throttle body is very different with 2 throttle plates, but the cleaning procedure is similar. If you need help cleaning the throttle body on your 2005 through 2014 Ford Mustang with either the V6 or the V8 engine, or really almost any car or light truck, you're going to find this video helpful. Tools and consumables that you need to clean your throttle body include some kind of a tub to clean your throttle body in, disposable towels, an 8mm socket, extension ratchet, a 5/16 nut driver, a small regular screwdriver, brushes to clean your throttle body, throttle body cleaner, or carburetor fuel injection cleaner, or seafoam works great for cleaning carbon off of parts. That's a good alternative. Of course, safety glasses, disposable gloves, and mechanics gloves. This video is part of my oil change series. I have many other videos showing general automotive work, modifications, and tips. If you find this video helpful, consider subscribing and watching the other videos. To subscribe, just click the Stiles Automotive icon in the lower right of the screen. Before I get started, I'm going to show you how I remove the engine cover. To remove the engine cover, just pull up on it. It snaps in place in several places. It just snaps into rubber grommets. So once I get this off, I'll show you the trick to it. But once you get it over, you can see I'm getting it over these parts in the front here on the overflow tube, here on the coolant, and then on the cold air induction I'm pulling it up over the top of that. But I'll show you where these the trick is here once I get it off of here. So this is the trick to it. Here's how it mounts. It has these 4 places here that push into the rubber grommets. There's 2 on each side. And what you have to do is line those up. So here's the rubber grommets. Here's the front ones right here. 1 on each side, and then the back ones here. What you have to do is bring that stud from the rubber grommets right up along here, along your intake runners. Now you don't have to remove the engine cover to remove the throttle body. You could probably get the throttle body off without it removed, but it makes the job just a little bit easier, and it's really not that hard to take off. And I recommend you take it off to do the belts and hoses inspection. So that's where I show you during my oil change series to take it off. Now I'm doing this video to show you how to remove the throttle body by itself, but as part of this oil change series I showed you how to clean the mass airflow sensor and the air filter. I showed you how to clean my K&N air filter as part of this series. You could do this as an assembly. It'd be easier if you just remove this as an assembly, had the mass airflow sensor disconnected, and take out the cold air inlet tube and just get it out of the way. I'm doing it separately so that I can show you that you don't have to do that. As part of the oil change series, I recommend that you replace or clean your filter and clean that mass airflow sensor every oil change. And at least I'll show you the two different methods of cleaning this throttle body. I'm going to start by removing the PCV tube. It's just a little bit easier to move this cold air inlet tube with that removed, and that's simply moving this little tab, just pushing the little tab over, and I did it with a screwdriver on the other end because it has limited access. So just push that over and then just pull on it. Using my 5/16 nut driver, I'm going to loosen the hose clamp on the cold air inlet tube and remove the cold air inlet tube. I'm going to take the cover, loosen the cover on my air filter so it's easier to move this tube. I'm going to flex it, pull it out, and just set it out of the way. I'm going to remove the electrical connector. You got to pull out on that little locking tab, just move it to the right a little bit so it releases, and then just press the connector. Make sure you can still see this. And then just press the connector and slide it apart. Pull out the little locking tab and still press it here to get it to release. And I'm going to get it up and out of the way. So this is the point here where I could clean the throttle body with it on the car, but you don't want to spray cleaners in here. You can spray a cleaner on a rag and then open up the throttle plate. Get in here, open up the throttle plate with your finger and wipe out the area and the edge of your butterfly valve. But if you haven't done it in 100,000 miles, then you need to take it off the car. You can do a much better job cleaning it by soaking it and spraying it, by taking it off the car, than you can with just a rag. But if you clean it all the time, if you clean it every oil change like I'm recommending, it's probably not going to be as dirty as mine is right now. You can see how much carbon there is right around the valve. So yeah, you can clean it on the car, but I recommend that you remove it. Remove the 4 8mm head size bolts. And that's all there is to it to remove the throttle body. And we can take it to the bench and clean it. As we're cleaning the throttle body, start with the inside. It's usually dirtier. See the black soot carbon buildup on the inside here. Pay particular attention to the edge of the butterfly valve and try to wash, if you're using your spray cleaners, try to wash away from the pivot points here on the shaft. And of course, don't soak your electronics with wet. Stay away from your electronic motor here. Using my safety glasses and that soft bristled brush, like a toothbrush, I'm going to just scrub the inside of the throttle body. keep working it. Push open the valve. Remember, it's spring loaded. Be gentle with it. It's also working against a gear and a motor in there. So pay particular attention to the edge, again, of the valve. Loosen up all the carbon. Generous amounts of cleaner. Just wash it through. On the old days, when they first started putting throttle bodies on cars, like my 91 Explorer with a 4-liter, its throttle body had a lot of casting flash in it. It was pretty rough on the inside lip right here. So remember the rule that if it's wet on your intake manifold, if it's wet like carbureted, you want the intake runners to be rough to keep turmoil in the airstream, to keep the gas particles suspended into the air. If it's dry like this is, you can polish this. It can be perfectly smooth. So for this, look how well it's made. No polishing is required. I'm just holding this open with my fingers. This valve isn't too bad, but if it's too small, you could always set something in here to hold it open while you scrub the other side. I don't think it's necessary for this one. So all of these cleaners dry pretty fast, but I like to wipe it out with a clean paper towel to make sure it's perfectly clean. If my towel's coming out clean, then I know I've got my throttle body clean. To do a little work on the outside. I'll clean up this mating surface better with a little sandpaper. You want to keep these mating surfaces completely flat though, so I'm going to use sandpaper on a sanding block to clean this mating surface. If your throttle body is really dirty, you could use either a Scotch-Brite pad from what you use in the kitchen, just a piece of that, or something like this 3M product, this scuff pad, to clean in here. If your throttle body is giving you problems and you're getting a fault code or something, then you might want to start with a green pad and scrub on the interior with that. just make sure you're gentle on it. Use lots of carburetor cleaner. So like I said, just a 600 grit sandpaper just to clean off this mating surface. Make sure I keep it flat. So I've got that cleaned up a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfectly shiny white metal, just cleaning up that mating surface. I'm going to clean it one more time, spray it down, get all that junk out of there. And wipe it out one more time. Clean towel. Once I'm happy with the inside of my throttle body, I'm going to clean out the contacts on the electrical connection with either that mass airflow cleaner that I use to clean my mass airflow sensor, or just some contact cleaner. Spray that out just to make sure there's no debris inside the connector. Back at the car, I'm going to spray some of the cleaner on a clean rag, clean paper towel, and I'm going to clean as far into the intake as my hand will allow me to get. And my intake, this 5-liter intake, has these grooves on it right here. Let me show that to you. Has grooves in it to aid in the airflow, straightening of the airflow. There's these veins, I guess, in ductwork, in the airflow world, they'd be called veins, to help direct the airflow. So I'm going to clean as much of that surface as possible, and then clean this outside mating surface. And if my electrical connector needs electrical tape, I'm going to go ahead and do that before I reinstall it. I'm going to add new electrical tape on there to fix it, to make sure it's in good shape. This gasket that's on here is reusable, but it's very inexpensive. So if you're going to be doing this, it'd be handy to have a spare on hand. It's a matter of throwing the 4 bolts in a vise, hitting them with a wire brush, and then just a little bit of anti-seize on them. Protect the used and unused threads on these. Notice they're completely threaded. So give them corrosion protection. Hit them all over with a little anti-seize. Alright, once complete with the bolts, a little bit of dielectric grease on your finger. And then on the electrical connector. Helps it go back together easier and helps waterproof it a little bit. Makes it a little bit more corrosion resistant, but makes it a lot easier to go back on and off in the future. And then just a little bit on the electrical connector, just on the end of the electrical connector. Then the throttle body's ready to go back in, just like it came out. These don't require a lot of torque, but I like to tighten them in kind of a cross pattern. Kind of just gives the aluminum body so it doesn't flex. Get a torque on these, or 20 foot-pounds or something, 25 foot-pounds. Notice I'm using a 1/4-inch ratchet to tighten mine. I used a 1/4-inch ratchet to take it off. That's all it needs. The electrical connector just gets pushed back on until it clicks. Once it's lined up properly, just pushes on until it clicks. It shouldn't pull back off unless you push that little tab. And then simply push in that little locking tab, locking mechanism. That's on. Cold air inlet goes back on. Yep. Take it back off the filter box. That'll help it get it out away from the throttle body. So I can push it back on. Make sure I'm not pinching it. There we go. Now, before I tighten it, put the cover back on the filter box. Latch is on. Make sure my mass airflow sensor still looks okay. Now it's aligned. Push it all the way onto the throttle body. And then the 5/16 nut driver. Tighten up the hose clamp. I've got a shop tip series, and in the shop tip series I show you to use a nut driver on hose clamps. It's so much better than using a flat regular screwdriver on hose clamps. You can get them much tighter, but yet you're not over tightening them. Be sure to check out that video. And it's a matter of putting that positive crankcase ventilation tube back on, that PCV valve tube. It just clicks on both ends. Put it on until it clicks. Make sure it's slid over. Oh, it didn't, so it needs a little help. So use your small regular screwdriver to help it get back on, and then attempt to pull it back off. It shouldn't come back off. On this car, you can just let the computer learn the throttle body. Again, it can learn it in about 10 minutes of driving, or you can take the positive and negative posts off the battery and touch them together. That'll erase all your memory in your car's computer. Well, that concludes the video on the throttle body cleaning. Be sure to look for the rest of my oil change series videos. They're really pretty basic, but you want to make sure you're doing this maintenance periodically, and that's what triggers it, is that oil change. Or if you're getting your car out of storage for the year, you know, this is something the car enthusiast needs to do at every oil change, is stick their hand in this throttle body and clean it, or take it off periodically to clean it. Same way with the mass airflow sensor and then the air cleaner. Well, that concludes the video. If you found it helpful, let me know in the comments, and if you did, please subscribe.